Hello and welcome back to Pillars of Eternity. So, I suspect this episode is going to be filled with a lot of stuff I have done before, but that's cool, you haven't seen it and it'll be all nice and new. However, given what I have seen so far, I would suspect that there is going to be some extra twists to what I had seen before, and maybe explains why what I'd seen before was very disconnected from the main game, in that we haven't been asked to go there yet. We are going to go to Deerford. Now, Deerford village is over here. First of all, we have to go to Stormwall Gorge. Stormwall Gorge has a whole bunch of stuff going on in it. Well, it doesn't really, it's actually quite boring. It also has a bit that was blocked off due to a river thing. Not entirely sure what's going on there, but that leads to Deerford village. Deerford village is, if we go to our quests, we can go to this one, through Death's Gate. Now, I've been to the mysterious ruin somewhere outside of Deerford. I think. This is why I think that perhaps something different may happen this time. Because now, we actually have something, we have something concrete. We have something we have to go and do. So that's why we're going to go there. Also, White March. Interesting. May go and do that at some point. In terms of everything else, I don't think there's anything major that we have to do. I suspect that we're near the Long Hunt where we go, but again, I'm not sure. Anyway, I never went on the map. We're going to go to Stormwall Gorge. This is also one of the areas which I'm going to skip a lot of, because a lot of this area is, well, nothing. It's mostly fights. I'd want to check this bit here. Oh, we got a lot of Pigras. Okay, we fought these before. They're weak to fire and ice. Oh. In which case, Durant, do you want to just drop a... Oh, we haven't rested. Again. This is fine. We shouldn't fight anything too dangerous that we need to rest. Pigras are actually all almost dead. Use your ice spell again, would you? This time hit all of them. There we are. Yeah. That should be them pretty much dead. Durant's can hit this one. We can hit this one. Where's Sagini? Sagini is bow and arrow, but... Oh, she's back there. Okay. Hit that Pigra with your shot. Stand over here. Fight. Maybe a little bit more like that. And then fire across. Yeah, that almost works. I'll do. Fire across. Might as well use it before the fight's over. There we go. Now we can attack that Piglet. Okay. It seems to be doing a lot of damage, actually. Wow, what are these? These are all infestations of maggots. Oh, they do more damage the lower health you are. Use your heal. Ah, he fell down, as did Sagini. Okay. Hey, that's fine. No problem. We'll grab our loot. We shouldn't be in a fight after this, so we should be fine. Yeah, we seem fine. Okay. Thought I'd just check this area. It looks interesting. Now, this area is marked with, like, a special thing, if we get us off of it. It's Les Aremes. We have not yet been. We have no reason to go here. It looks flooded. Now, also, what's interesting is there's another part of this area that's blocked off by water. I suspect that there's a thing later where you can remove the water. Not sure, though, but I would suspect. Right. Just gonna walk down here. Gonna ignore the man, because that leads to a fight with lions, and we don't care about the fight with lions. We are going to head specifically here. Hello, Hiravias. Chewing on a piece of uncooked meat, a small Orland dressed in tattered leathers offers a mumbled greeting and waves his hand. Despite his pleasant smile, the upper right portion of his face is in a sorry state. An eye patch stitched with a stylized eyeball wraps around his head. His ear is a mangled remnant that twitches and spasms while the other ear perks up at your approach. Next to him is the displayed carcass of a deer that appears ripped open by a bear or a wolf. Sagini, you hear a rumbling next to you. Sagini places her hand on her stomach. Her eyes are on the carcass. Still fresh. Imitic's pink tongue lolls out of his mouth. If
this is your deer, you need a new game warden. Name's Hiravias. Hungry? I can't eat all this. First catch of the day, help yourself.
What killed the deer?
One ornery Stelgar. Though looking at the deer's insides, it had a malformed but delicious heart, and would have been dead within the year regardless. Gallowayne chose a fitting end for this fine animal. Pardon me, I shouldn't pray with my mouth full.
Tell me about
Lord
Gallowayne.
of the Hunt, patron of all seekers. I'm the wrong person to ask.
He brushes his hair aside, allowing a closer examination of his eye patch. A stylized pattern of an eye is embroidered on
As
the
a
worn
child,
leather.
I would worship Gallowayne in hopes of being a great hunter. But I have since come to know Wal, he who sees and is not seen.
Tell me about
Wal is
Weil.
the god of mystery and obfuscation. Wal does little to intervene, dictate, or limit our actions. But nor does he make himself easily known. I would say I contemplate Wal more than I follow or serve him.
What brings
Other
you
than
here?
the delicious venison, new trees to document, new animals to sketch, new sights to be seen. I've learned as much as I can from the druids of my circle. I'd rather wander and learn than take root and stagnate. So if you're traveling to Dyrwood and need another set of hands, I'd welcome the safety of a group.
Go on.
I'm trained by the celebrants of Hawk and Ivy of the Fisher Crane tribe. I know more than my share of nature magic, and, well, I don't shy away from a good fight. I have business with the druids that live near Twin Elms. So long as we find ourselves there eventually, I'm happy to follow along.
You're welcome to join us.
Splendid! It'll be an honor to run with a pack for a change.
And we have a new member of our party. We have Hiravias. Fantastic. A druid. Now, we're going to get rid of a Loth for him. Now, I've thought about this for who we want to remove. Here's basically how the I went and had a look at companion quests as part of the time that is missing. And what I looked up was basically how we would do companion quests, how they link together. Like, if you did a quest, would that link into another quest that links into another quest, and does it spiral out of control and you have to weave your companions in and out of the party? Basically, the answer is no. What you need to do is Durance and a companion that we have not yet met have quests that last until the end of the game. Everybody else, all of the companions, have a quest that you do, and then it ends. There is no more quest. Kanna's quest, for instance, is the Endless Paths. Now, I believe that the Endless Paths, you need to be a high level to do, and each path level roughly, like there was 15 levels in the Endless Path, and they roughly correspond to the level you should be when you do them. Obviously, given the max level was 12 when the game came out, you may not be level, you may be a lower level than the actual level of the floor, but you get the idea. So like if you're a level 3 character, you can roughly go down like 3 or 4 floors, something like that. Higher the level, the more floors you can go down. It's not like you're forced. It's not like it's when you reach a level the floor unlocks. It's like you can go down there, you'll just die. That's pretty much how it goes. So yeah, we may wait till we've done White March and then go and do the Endless Path. I suspect we'll wait for max level at the very least. So that's why Kanna's kind of out of the party for now. He does have cool things to add, but he has a quest that, like, we know where it is. And that's the problem with Kanna, is basically we know where the quest is. And we have others where we don't necessarily know. We know where Hiravias is, it's Twin Elms. Same with Pallegina. Sagini's we don't know, so she has to be with us. Edier's we know where it is, but he has to be with us because he's our only tank. So a lot needs to go. For just now. And we'll get Hiravias in. Just because he's new and we want to level him up and want to try him out. I mean, given we know where Hiravias' quest is, we could easily leave him in our roster and never bring him. But, you know, that's why we're doing it quite like this. Right. Hiravias, let us level you up. Well, before we do that... also, this popped up with something. We finished construction of something. Let's just set something else. Lab to restore. Cool. Right, Hiravias, let's have a look at your stuff. So first of all, we'll look at what he's got. He's got a whole bunch of druid spells. We'll go through them in a bit. He's got Shapeshift Stelgar, which is basically a big, like, cat that stands on 2 legs. Something like that. It's a big, powerful beast that hits things. Second Wind, heal. We know, we got that. Minor threat, so he's an Orlan, so he gets this one. 10% of hits convert to crits when attacking the same ally as the same target as an ally. Cool. So he works well with a group, and then Cat Flurry attack is basically when he's in his cat form, he does extra damage. Fair enough, right. So, he has nothing in terms of the weapons he needs to use. So what we're going to do is we're going to give him some equipment. So, right off the bat, he starts with fine leather armor. Nope. He actually has the sun... He has the Sun-Touched Mail of Hiren Wrath, which gives him Sunbeam. Good spell in terms of... it gives him another thing he can do. And it gives him better armor. Like, it gives a tiny... Well, it gives a little bit more, recovery speed, but he gets, like, much better armor. So, there we go. Although, stylistically, I'd say that we should probably be using that, and then he can have our armor. You know, given he's a melee as well, we'll do the stylistically. We'll do the stylistic kind of thing. So he can be this kind of druid look, and we can have the proper armor and be shiny again. Very, very, very shiny. I think that's probably a little bit better. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. I probably need a different set of armor, basically, is what we're getting at here. Right, so right at the start, he uses a fine spear. Isn't too bad. It's a one-handed spear. He could use a different weapon, and he could use a different one now. Do we have any? I don't think we have any other weapons. We have the Unforgiven Flail, which could be cool to give him. Converts grazes to hits, and then hits can be converted to crits. Yeah, except that when he's in melee, he's going to be in cat form. So most of the time, we're going to be talking about his ranged weapon, because what I suspect we're going to use him for is going to be ranged until he's melee, if you know what I mean. Like, we'll have him sitting back, doing his ranged attacks, and then we may just go, okay, we want him to go cat form and just go hit something. And maybe we've got a lot of room for a lot of melee fighters, that could be a good idea. So, let us level him up with that knowledge. So, oh, I suppose we should also look at his druid spells, as you haven't seen them yet. Or you might not have seen them if you haven't played the game. Let us go and have a look at his spells. So, we have Charm Beast. This one basically allows him to convert in an AoE a number of beasts to our side. Fairly straightforward. Dancing Bolts. So this one is shock damage. Again, fairly simple from what we've seen. Little AoE shock thing. Nature's Mark is a very straightforward debuff. It just lowers the deflection and reflex again in an AoE. Interesting that a lot of these are AoE. Nature's Vigor. Kind of a heal, so it's like a small heal. So this is like half of Lay on Hands in terms of the amount of heals. And maximum endurance is increased by a little bit. So this may be good if you want to... It's only for 15 seconds on this one. So it may be good if you think that your party members are about to take a lot of damage. You can raise the maximum endurance and give them a heal over time. They take the damage, they survive it because they have the extra endurance, they heal up, and then the endurance goes away and they're all cool. He also has Sunbeam. That's the druid spell. It's also the spell that we have on our on the armor. So actually, I guess it is good that we didn't give him the armor because he would just have a spell he already has, which doesn't really make sense. Talon's Reach. This one, AoE slash damage. Again, straightforward. Tanglefoot. We've used this one. Hobbles enemies. Very useful for like killing enemies with ranged attacks. So we like put Tanglefoot down and attack a whole bunch in. Val Thorns, kind of similar to Tanglefoot in the way it casts, but this one does Sicken and Poison. It does Sicken, so reduce the attributes by 1. Fortitude and Will are also reduced. And then we have Winter Wind, which is a kind of pushback spell, which is useful if, say, things are getting too close and he wants them to not be. Or we want to line up enemies for like a lightning shot. So interesting stuff. Level them up. In terms of stuff, survival, so we can get to accuracy, lore, seem like the two obvious choices. Athletics, he already has first level of. He already has the ability from first level of it, so maybe not something desperate. Survival. At least the 4th level. I think we'll just put everything in it right now. Maybe we can get to 10. Okay. And this one, Wild Strike. So Wild Strike is basically... we inflict more damage when shapeshifted, and this is what type of damage we would like to do. So we might as well choose one. Do I do corrode, freeze, shock, or burn? We have a lot of burn damage. We have some corrode damage. We have not a lot of freeze damage, and we have one bit of shock damage. I think shock damage might be a cool one to put in, because it's something we don't have a lot of, and a lot of things aren't very resistant to it, so, from what we've seen. But if they are resistant to it, then likely some of our other stuff will be able to compensate. Okay, and this one, survival. We're at 6. Next. And then we get spells. So, Autumn's Decay creates a cone of corrosive damage. Cool. Very simple. It's just a cone attack, kind of similar to our cold attack that we have, except it doesn't knock them back, it just corrodes stuff area over time. Then more damage over time to any in the area of effect. Oh, so this leaves like a death thing on the ground. Cool. So it can be used for kind of blocking off an area if we want to, let's say, block off one area, have Edier stand in the other part of it, and then they have to come through Edier or take damage. Okay. Blizzard conjures a blizzard, inflicts freeze damage, and anyone in the area affects, slows attack rate. Fair enough. Burst of Fire. So this one inflicts burn damage to anyone in the area of effect, short cast type. So this is kind of like, we need damage now, we need burning damage, do it. That's kind of where that one is. Conjure Lesser Blight. Fairly straightforward. It's a summon. Firebrand. Forms a powerful sword. Now this does actually do a lot of damage, and might be why we don't want to focus on getting him a melee weapon, because he has a melee weapon he can use, even if he doesn't go into cat form. So that's cool. So say we wanted him to have a melee weapon to take out something, but we didn't want him to lose access to his spells. We'd use Firebrand, we do a hit, then we can go back to our spells. Hold Beast paralyzes most beasts. Insect Swarm is pierce damage over time and lowers concentration. Taste of the Hunt. Caster's melee weapon becomes an ideal instrument for hunting, adding continuous raw damage to its attack and restoring endurance to the caster with every hit. Could be useful if we're against something that won't die very quickly to Firebrand, but and has like maybe high DR, so maybe a tanking creature. We just stick this on, and he can just kind of heal it up. Then we have Woodskin, which gives kind of damage reduction bonuses to things. Anyway, next level. So, survival. Yep, that's it. Class unlocks, none of those. We can get an extra first level spell, or we can get greater wind strike shock, which basically means he does even more damage. I think we're just going to go with that. Survival again. We're at 8, we need to get to 10. And then class unlocks. Next level of spells. So, Beetle Shell. Cases the target in a protective shell, absorbing fixed amount of damage before shattering. So kind of like a shield more than a heal, which I quite like. But prevents the target from taking action. So maybe it can be used as a last resort, or it can be used to take a powerful enemy out of the fight. We just put him in that, and then we can do other stuff. Right, then we have Infestation of Maggots. So this one's the one that we got attacked with earlier. Basically, the more hurt they are and the more damage it does raw damage over time. Nature's Balm, quick healing. Purge of Toxins, removes poison and disease. Returning Storm is like a storm that stuns people in it, similar to Blizzard, except this one stuns and has shock damage opposed to freezes and lowers attack speed. Spreading Plague, so this one hobbles and weakens enemies and then it kind of spreads out. Stag's Horn, piercing damage to a target and makes them take more damage from deflection and hit reflex, or more easily hit with deflection and reflex. And Twin Stone sends 2 boulders at someone, doing crush damage to anyone in their path. Fair enough. Right, survival. So next level we should finish that up, which we will have enough for. Class unlocks, none of those, we don't get anything here. So, we have to choose where we want to go. So we could take something from another class, we could take something like Missiles if we wanted to, or Outlander's Frenzy, or something in there. I don't think we're going to do that. I think we're going to take something that'll just make us generally good. I don't know, Fast Runner could be it. Quick Switch, maybe not. I don't know. Hold the Line, no. Well, Hold the Line could be actually useful if we wanted him to be a tankier one. So we can engage with 2. So we could use him as kind of an off tank. Maybe. maybe. Unstoppable? What's that? Defense against... Oh, these are all just defenses against things. Cautious attack. Doesn't look like what we're after. Body control. Doesn't look like what we're after. Severe deflection. Maybe. I think we want to do something like a ranged attack thing. So what have we got? Bloody Slaughter. Bloody Slaughter could actually be really useful. That turns hits into crits against targets with low endurance. So that gives 10% chance of hits turning into crits if he's attacking a target that an ally is attacking. And then another 20% chance of hits being converted into crits if they have low endurance. And it gives a crit damage multiplier. Very cool. I think that's a good one. Right, next. Next level. Last survival level. And that's us. New set of spells. Boiling Spray. Cone burn damage. Pushes enemies back. Similar to one we had earlier. Calling the World's Maw. Jagged rock stabs upwards, doing pierce damage to targets, knocking them prone. Kind of very similar to the Priest spell, which has like a thing that comes down and crushes them. This one kind of similar, but it's pierce. Conjure Blight. It's just a more improved version of Conjure Lesser Blight. Hailstorm. This one calls down sleet, ice chunks, causing crush damage and freeze damage to anyone area of effect. So just like a power, it's more of the damage version of Blizzard. Then we have Moonwell, which regenerates allies in an area of effect and gives a bonus to defenses. So maybe we'll put that underneath our allies if they're being hurt and being attacked, and that'll just kind of give us a buff. Could be useful with some of the priest stuff. Overwhelming Wave. Wave of crush damage and stun stuff. Wicked Briars. This one causes pierce damage and hobbles any enemies in the area of effect. And then Form of the Delic Man, which basically gives allies a protective wooden skin and abuse characteristics of the Delic Man, becoming faster, less vulnerable to disengagement attacks, and immune to the Stuck Affliction. Cool. Next level. So we're finished survival. Lore. We are a spellcaster second. Therefore, spellcaster is second. Here, we get bonus spells. Not interested. Savage Attack. Not interested. Envenom Strike. Not interested. Marksman. Maybe. Could be useful. I think maybe something like... so one that gives us more disengage. That could be really useful for us. Graceful Retreat. Okay. The reason this could be really useful for us is if we go in as a cat, we attack them, we go out of cat form, we want to then retreat to the back lines, this could be useful. That's where I'm seeing that being used. Done. It's also a very different build than the one I initially envisioned for the character. Initially I was like, okay, I'm going to put stuff into melee attack, it's going to melee attack, but then the problem is, the cat form is already so good, and it doesn't inherit a lot of the melee attack stuff. So, if we make him a ranged caster, and then have cat form as like a bonus thing, like that is his melee form, that is what we may use him most for, but he has the caster to fall back on. And that's a useful way of playing. Okay, so. Formation. I think we want to move him like that. But, maybe we want to move him like that. And my logic for this is we may not take Durance with us soon. There is another companion I want to put in Durance's slot, and they fit very well there. So actually maybe even like that. That might be what we're looking for. And because we've been using melee a lot more on our main character, I think that looks like a good formation for us.
Hey.
So let's set out, see if this looks right. So something like that. That's not too bad. So we'd all be able to attack at range, and then he'd be able to run around the side and attack, and we'd be able to run around and attack. Cool. Right, we're going to move on from the area, staying close to the cliff so that we avoid, well, basically the lines that are here. I think that's all there is, though. So basically, to give you a lay of the land, down in this bit here, we got some towers, and they give you some minor equipment, and you have to fight some wolves. Up here, you fight some lions. And they have killed this guy, basically. You don't get any lore about it or anything, so we're gonna move on, and then I'm gonna do that off camera just to save a little bit of time. To the Deerford village.
Before I knew it, the Stelgar was on top of me, and I was face down in the dirt.
Arrow to the throat. That stops him.
What? No! I was spirit shifted, and she was in heat, so I aimed for the throat, but not with an arrow.
Uh-huh. Okay. Right. We are going to go into our stronghold here. We have a follower of St. Waidwin seeking employment. We are going to fire one of our other people. Who do we want to fire? Probably somebody who's not that important, or like, doesn't give us very much, so maybe one of these ones. Dismiss. And then follower of St. Waidwin. Get him. Perfect. We basically get 2 more defenses for 80 copper. Great. Let's go and speak to these guys. To Medrith. An elf idles by the road, watching the village across the river. He nods as you approach. The cowled figure standing near him falls silent. Silent. Greetings, friend. I've heard of you. Word has it you've been busy in Defiance Bay. I'm busy too, and eager to finish my business and get back to the city. What business is that? Haven't you heard there's a murderer on the loose? Said to have gone mad with grief and strangled a dozen healthy children when her own was hollowborn. We've come all the way from Defiance Bay to bring her to justice. She's here? She's hiding out in the village. We'd go in after her ourselves, but the problem is she knows our face. No telling what she'd do if she saw us coming. And then we'd like to avoid further unnecessary bloodshed. Her name's Nefre. She's an Orlin. We want her out of town so that we can deal with her cleanly. She knows we're looking for her, but if someone were to convince her that it's safe to leave... if she's a mass murderer, why didn't the Duke send the Crucible Knights after her? A look of distaste flickers across his face. It's quick, but you catch it. The powers that be want to keep things quiet for obvious reasons. Better not to cause a fuss, and certainly better not to startle her into doing something drastic. I could draw her out. She won't know you. It'll be simple. I have a few questions. What is it? What did she do exactly? She was responsible for the murder of all those babies in Defiance Bay. Remember, a terrible thing. We'll make her pay, alright. I should get back to the search. Okay.
Hey.
Again, save time and loading screens. And here, the person that we could speak to in there is not there. And I don't know where you meet them or how they come to be there. A word, traveller. Want to acquire a moment? Oh, alright.
Well met, friend.
You've recently come to Deerford, I take it. I don't suppose you saw a young elven noblewoman on the road. I'm stuck in this wretched place with the rest of my unit until we find her. I haven't seen anyone like that. Same as everyone else in this blazing village. Perhaps you could speak with Lord Harrond at the end. He'd be grateful for the assistance. And it could be the locals open up to you about his daughter's disappearance more than they have to us.
Hey.
Okay. Fair enough, we could. Oh, what's this one? Deerford Mill. I forget what's there. Damn Gelwin for monsters like that and the rest of the gods too. A man paces angrily in front of a wretched animal pen, his sun-weathered face twisted with ire. He's so wrapped up in his fury he doesn't seem to notice you. Gelwin, slobbering beast, blazing bloody effigy, thrice damned salty wench and her soggy. What's wrong? That monster stole my pigs, trapesed into my village, tore down my pen and made off with the whole damned herd. Just a few little runts, what am I supposed to do with them? What are you talking about? An ogre moved into the area not too long ago. Folks have been seeing glimpses and tracks out in the woods, and it seemed to be staying away from town, or so we thought, until it made off with my pigs. Now everyone's afraid it's going to develop a taste for Kith if it hasn't already. What do you mean to do? I know it's too late to get my pigs back, but set my mind at ease to see that thing's head shorn from its neck. In fact, if you bring its ugly pate to me, I'll trade it to you for something that's less used to a farmer like me than to a rowdy looking salt like yourself. What do you know about the ogre? I guess they don't have those where they come from, do you? I do like that it has things based on where you're from. That's kind of neat. It doesn't mean very much, but it's nice to have just a little bit of twist, something a little bit different. It's the same as any other, I'm sure. A big, ugly son of a bitch with a nasty temper and an appetite to match. Tigro could tell you more. He claims to have seen it in the woods. You can find him at his shop right by the broken tower. Need something else? Nah, we'll leave.
Hey.
Right. Let's head into the inn for just now. Yeah. Let's head into the inn for just now. Let's head into the inn for... Oh. Pelagina wasn't there.
You
That
must gather
explains why
your
we couldn't
party
head into
before
the inn.
venturing forth.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Head
I
on
just
in.
want to find her. Surely even you can understand that.
We're decent folk, my lord. Perhaps you should leave and check the wilds.
Okay. Hello, innkeep.
Hail, traveler!
Don't see many travelers these days. Something I can do for you. What was your strange exchange with the nobleman about? Folks around here are decent. They mind their own business. You want to stick your nose in it, go talk to them yourself. I have questions about Deerford. Ask. Do you know anything about Grathan ruins nearby? What I know is it's best to be avoided. Don't serve to anger the Dunfathans by stomping around their sacred grounds. If you've got to satisfy your curiosity, talk to Baedmar. He's in the temple to the northwest. Interesting. Now, Baedmar, just to be transparent, was not in the temple to the northwest when I first came here. Like, when I was on that other save where I didn't do the main quest before coming here. This would imply to me very heavily that if Baedmar is in there, that is how to advance the main quest. Which means we are not going to talk to well, you know what, we can talk to Baedmar. We know that there's another part of the main quest that is a 3-parter, so we know where the other part is, and we're not going there for a while, so... No, that's fine. We can talk to Baedmar, but just know that that's where the divergent point kind of appears. Have you seen an Orland named Nifri? Twitchy lady, that one. Okay, so she's been here. Tell me about the village. Walk from one bridge to the next and you've seen it. We're quiet, hard-working folk. We keep to ourselves and don't like being pushed around. He glares at the well-dressed man standing off to the side. Used to be a castle here, built by some family of Adirian thanes back when the Empire first came. Only one tower still standing, that part's Tigril's shop now. Sid, that bard by the fire, could spin your yarn if you're so inclined. Who lives in Deerford? Not many anymore. Hard to keep people around here when everyone's birth and hollowborn. We got a few who stick around and do business. Tigril's the leather curer, Hedina's craft potion, and Winrith trades in general goods. Rumbald's a pig farmer, or was anyway. Tell me about Tigril. He's a curer. Treats leather and makes armor and a few other goods with it. Problem is, the smell of tallow and deer shit tends to put people off their food and his shop's right next door. What's Hindina's story? Lady's a clever hand with potions and poultices. Got herself into trouble with a nest of worms, so I hear. Her cot's on the east end of town. And Winfrith? Been around longer than I have. Nice enough fellow, but never could find his way to the end of a sentence. His shop's across the square. Something happened to Runbald's pigs, I take it. Damned ogre carried them off. Now he squeals more than his herd ever did. It's rotten luck. Okay, previous questions. You said you don't see many travellers. Of course not. Why'd they come here? We got bandits on the road and an ogre in the forest and a yapping fool Rumbald will tell you. Worst yet, haven't been a healthy child here born in over a year. Most kith that come here just passing through. About that ogre. You hardly see him this close to town. Ogres and kith don't mix well. Ugly bastards, but smart enough to know that much. Wanna know more? Talk to Rumbald. His farm southwest of here. Okay, something else. Yeah? Well, we want to rest, basically. Okay, so we're going to take damage reduction burn. Important to take that. Well, not that important, but we'll take it. Okay, so we got our quest going for through gate, Death's Gate a little bit. Let's talk to Sid.
Hail and well met.
First time in a Dracogen. Normally I'd have a song ready, but I haven't quite worked out the tune yet. I'm writing some chants about the founding of this inn. So you interested in the story? I haven't finished the chants, but I could tell you all the same. Sure, let's have it. Pelagina rolls her golden eyes and exhales for an excessively long time through her nose. It was built in the time of Hadra's rebellion, and Darien lady Thanu once kept a keep here. One of the towers still stands, but the rest is said to be buried under the village. Anyway, she stuck to the side of the Empire, and a contingent of Duke Hadrid's Knights of the Crucible helped the farmers and colonists in the area turn her keep to rubble. The inn was the first building that sprang up from the ruin, built with some of the same bricks the colonists had pulled from Lady Thanu's castle, they say. Supposedly the quarterstaff of a chief wizard even got lost in construction, mortared into a wall and nailed under a floorboard. Anyway, the inn was supposed to be a haven, a meeting place where the locals built the new town. What do you mean supposed to be? Deerwoodens are an ornery lot. More of these new neighbours met, the more they argued. They realised they didn't agree on much besides ousting the old lord. The biggest divide was over the Glenfathans and the nearby ruins. Hadrid's knights and supporters wanted to keep the peace. A group of misfits with more archaic leanings had formed in the town and wanted to go after the tribes the same way they'd gone after the lord. Soon the villagers were fighting with each other as much as with the Adirians. In the end, the memories of the Broken Stone War and the War of the Black Trees were fresh enough that the Duke's soldiers won the day. Most of the other villagers came around eventually, but some of the core troublemakers left to join the front lines of the War of Defiance, and others, I've heard, found a way into the Gilded Compass, the most forward-looking of the Glenfathan tribes. I don't know if I believe that part myself, but it makes a good story. There's a portrait of one of the chief rabble-rousers and his rival in a peacekeeping faction. Someone's idea of a joke. I don't think they're particularly amused. Okay, tell me about the Broken Stone War. It was the first major conflict between the original Adirian settlers and the Glenfathans. About 3 years into colonisation when some farmers knocked over Adra Menhel that was part of an Iguathan ruin. The war didn't last long, but it spread quickly and claimed thousands. In the early weeks, most of the colonists didn't even realise there was a war going on until the Glenfathan raiders hit their villages. There had been small spontaneous skirmishes between the colonists and locals before then, but it was organised. And this was the start of decades of violence between the colonists and the Glenfathans. As you can see, Dyrwood's full of history, even in little villages like this. Tell me about the War of the Black Trees. It started back in the colonial days, almost 30 years after the Broken Stone War. Even though isolated conflict still broke out between the settlers and the Glenfathans, both sides had officially agreed to peace. Edrang Hadrid, Admeth's father, was grief at the time. As part of a peace negotiations, he had signed treaties prohibiting Adirian colonists from looting Iguathan ruins. However, he'd been unable to outlaw the use of captured Glenfathans as slaves. We know what a grief is, we heard about that earlier, so I see. Indeed, the taken Glenfathan slaves continued to be a source of conflict. It came to a head when Imperial agents, aided by certain earls in the Deerwood, began looting the ruins again. See, the Empire never actually agreed to Hadrid's treaties on the matter, and the recent secession of the Valian Republic slightly left them eager to weaken Hadrid's position. The looting sparked a brutal slave uprising and guerrilla campaign among the Glenfathans. Edward Hadrid was too old to lead forces into battle, so he sent his son Admeth. Admeth made a costly but effective decision that ended the war faster than anyone could have imagined. He burned the forest near the Isis N River to keep the Glenfathan warbands from retreating. Thousands of the Glenfathans died. As Admeth repeated his scorched earth tactics in the following months, he wore down the remainder of their forces. To this day, over 150 years later, there are still sections of Deerwood where trees are nothing but bare, charred trunks. Okay, cool. We had already learned most of this from books, but that's fine. Okay, cool.
Hey.
For interest, here is the painting. We'll zoom in as much as we can. The portrait depicts a man and woman dressed in Edir garb that would have been in style a century ago. The heavy frame has been battered. The plate that once bore the patron's name has been scratched out. They share a passionate embrace, which seems at odds with the disgust on their face. I suspect this is what it is anyway. Right. As for what we should do next, looking at the time, I think we're going to talk to Hiravias, and then we're going to kind of leave it there. Talk to Hiravias.
As a peripatetic loner, I'm not privy to the latest news, but the hollowborn children is a tale that has reached even my reclusive ears. Or, rather, ear.
Okay, so we're not really interested in what the Glenfathan Druids think. Well, we are interested in what the Glenfathan Druids are, but we're more interested in what he thinks of the Hollowborn, because he is, like, we can talk to another Glenfathan Druid and find out, but we can't talk to another Hiravias, so
Any time a life is separated from its soul. I wanted to pretend it was just a rumor when I first heard of it. In my youth, I'd cursed the Deerwoodens for being ignorant despoilers that breed out of control. But soulless babies? What heartless gods would inflict that kind of tragedy? No parent or child deserves to be a part of that horror.
Okay, what do the Glenfathan Druids think of this
It's been
plight?
a long time since I've spoken with my circle. They'd probably tell you what I'd tell you. This plight was most certainly the consequence of someone trespassing into Iguathan places, not meant for folk. I mean, What else other than the gods could inflict punishment of such impressive scale?
We should talk about the
Need
matters.
something?
Okay. First of all, let's do his kind of unique thing. Let's discuss our other party members.
Curious about your compatriots? Whom in particular?
What do you think of Adir? Now, I think this is useful because this tells us what he thinks of. Like, this gives us a view into him based on how we view other companions. This shows us what his view, like, it shows us how his views align to ours, which might be a good way of putting it. What do you think of
He's
Adir?
nasty, brutish, and tall. So 2/3 like me, I suppose. The circumference of his neck exceeds the circumference of my torso at its thickest point. They sure do breed them big and dumb in the Dyrwood, don't they? No, I'm being a brat. Truthfully, I think the guy's a lot more gentle than he pretends. He's certainly got a big heart for animals, at least, which is rather telling of who he is under that soldier exterior.
What are your thoughts on the Paladina?
Her zeal is sincere, and I can tell you she's destined to die on her feet. And she's easy on the eyes. Can't fatten a thoroughbred, that's what I always say. I just wonder if she has a cloaca or not. Ooh, the curiosity is killing me. Yeah, cloaca. It's a combination feces chute and happy slot. Birds usually have these hybrid holes, and I figure she might too. What? Don't look at me like that.
VC, shoot, and happy slot.
We can speak another time. Lead the way.
Yeah, normally that would
Need
be
something?
where someone would end a conversation with you, but
Need
unfortunately
something?
we're going to
Curious
continue.
about your compatriots?
What do you think of Aloth?
Him I don't mind too much. Though I could pitch a tent with the pole wedged up his anus. I could smell something funny on him. 2 cents? Not quite. Well, whatever it is, take note of his mood swings. I don't think he's unstable. I just think he has a lot going on up there.
Sagini, what's your impression?
She actually steps lightly when we travel outdoors, which is more than I could say for the rest of you. They do things differently where she's from, but she knows her way around the woods almost as well as I do. Almost.
Any thoughts on Kanarua?
Oh, I think I could fit 3 of me, plus a remainder of a 4th Hiravias inside that giant. Gods, am I glad he's friendly. And between you and me, he has a better singing voice than the prettiest lasses I know from my tribe. It's 1 part unsettling, 2 parts arousing. And it makes me wish I still had both ears.
Uh-huh. Tell me your thoughts on Durance. That's all for now? Excuse me? Tell me your thoughts on Durance.
Oh, love at first sight. It's like wow carved an ever-changing gash in his brain, and every hour he's a different flavor of angry. Durance makes me feel like I'm the sane one. He smells like fear in the mornings and rage in the afternoons. I'm keeping my eye on him. He's a laugh, but he might someday be a problem.
Okay, cool. So, tell me about yourself.
My second favorite subject.
What would you like to know? How did you come to be trained as a druid? It wasn't entirely by choice, at least not at the start. My ambition was to be a hunter. I merely arrived by a different trail. As a child, an Amphath came to visit. An honoured guest is an occasion for a grand chase, but I was left out, instructed instead to be a cupbearer to the old wise one while we rest were on hunt. I'm sure you can guess what happens. A wild Amphath gives a dumb child a shred of attention. We end up talking till the hunters return. He gave me this. He presents a rusted metal iron medallion fashioned in the likeness of a hound's head, a common icon among frontiersmen, explorers, and other seekers faithful to Galawain. The Amafath insisted I be trained and none of my village would defy him. Now, I don't need a bow to hunt. Where are you from originally?
Crotch. You?
Ooh, something went severely wrong for the audio there. Okay. Yeah. What coincidence, I also came from your mother's crotch.
For the record, only I'm allowed to insult my mother. But I respect your dedication to banter, so I'll let it slide. This time. I grew up in Glonfoth, specifically in and around Thane Bog. My people, the Fisher Crane tribe, are migrant stewards of the land. I've walked the whole of Glonfoth many times.
What's the story behind the symbol of whale on your eye patch? Whale is well known as the eyeless face, so his symbol seemed like a good fit for my eye patch. Whale iconography is rather popular in my home tribe, but it seems he is not as widely venerated here in the Dyrwood. I keep thinking that if I consecrated my eye to he who obfuscates and reveals, and maybe with enough devotion, Whale would make use of the old rune thing. So, if you think you see me staring at rumps and cleavages, it's just the will of Whale controlling my gaze. Honest. What's your relationship with Galawain? Was raised as a disciple of the Seeker God. He's a champion of the hunt, be it the simple struggle for sustenance or the scholarly pursuit of knowledge. In my later years I've found life has shown me I'm more suited to the ways of Whale. The furious hunt for knowledge often outpaces the journey to real understanding. Druids are known for changing into animals. What sort of creatures can you become? All sorts of things. Hiravias stares at you blankly, arms folded. Let's discuss something else. Let's use our perception. This unusually terse response from you. What are you holding back?
It's a long story, and I haven't really told it before to an outsider, so bear with me. I struggled with spirit shifting, the final rite of passage in my druidic training. I prayed to Galawain for insight, and, in the style of seekers of old, went to the forest, alone, to ask for guidance. Then I got my answer, an answer at least, in the form of a vibrantly colored Stelgar that pounced from the underbrush and made a salient demonstration of its capacity to eat things 1/15th its size.
You're alive today. How did you fend off the beast?
Fend it off? I ripped off its arm and sent it running. As the beast was lopping off bits of my handsomeness, I remember trying to fight back, swinging with arms too short to reach. I felt I had the energy for one last swipe at the beast's nose, and when I lashed out with a punch, my arm felt twice as massive, and my fingers sprouted talons. In a rush of power, I shifted into a mirror of my assailant. Apparently, he couldn't pick on someone his own size. By the battle's end, his severed arm was in my maw. The beast limped away in defeat.
That's an impressive tale. I thought learning to spirit shift would win me some respect. Maybe trap myself in a Derian lass with a lust for little men. Alas, I may have been better off staying a novice. When I wandered back to my village, they saw wounds and asked what happened. I showed them. The name they called my form was Autumn Stilgar, and they were not impressed. The Rao of my circle believed the Autumn Stilgar to be a heinous abomination. It said if it eats you, your soul is invariably lost. As this was my first and most intuitive form, they deemed me a carrier of its evil. Even though I never so much as threatened my kin, I was ruled unfit and cast out. I don't know what message Galawain was trying to send. Only lesson I learned was that the Seeker God will punish you for seeking. So you're some sort of soul cannibal? No, at least I think not. I've never actually sat down and eaten an entire person to find out. I'm not that curious to find out. You didn't choose your spirit shifting form? No, it chose me, or so I imagine. I always assumed I would shift into a stoat. Seemed more true to my nature. As the obscure teaches, when the answer is inscrutable, one must be content to ponder the question. Were you at least recognized as a proper druid? No, but I passed the initiation rite 5 times more perilous than any of these kin betrayers that insisted I was a failure. Can you spirit shift into something less terrifying? Already can and sometimes do. But the druids in my circle assign great meaning to one's first form. I'll always be unclean to them. Thank you for sharing your story.
If you don't know me, you can't trust me. And if you can't trust me, odds are low you'll leap in front of a flying arrow to save my life. I've been meaning to visit the druids of Twin Elms to see if they know more about my spirit shift. If our journey takes us there, perhaps they can enlighten me with more information about the Autumn Stelgar. But for now, maybe we can talk about something less depressing?
I want to hear more about Galawain and Whale. Oh, I'm not sure there's much to say on the subject, unless you're itching for a religious debate. Tell me about Whale first. I came to know Whale in earnest in the first year of my exile. I asked myself why Galawain would punish me for asking questions. What just and fair god would punish me for doing as he asked? Questioning why I'd been mauled just drove me mad, and to height my worry, I had dreams where I only saw with my injured eye. My healthy eye became blind in my dreams. So one afternoon I stitched a stylized eye motif on the patch. I like to think of it as my self-initiation rite into the Brotherhood of Whale. Whale is not instructive or overbearing deity. He does not freely dispense wisdom and expects all of us to question and explore with our own minds. Whale reminds me that curiosity is receptive to any and all truths, not hunting for any one answer. Has Whale ever actually spoken directly to you or sent you a sign? No, not directly. Which is as it should be, given what he represents. I especially like how Whale never sends wild beasts to maul me. But maybe I have low expectations of such things. To speak of something else. Gallowayne and Whale, Gallowayne. I consider a lapse of devotion. I'll always respect the secret god, but he visited ruination on me when all I sought was knowledge. Just as he taught it should be. He meshes his fingers together and flexes his digits until the joints pop and click. Gallowayne left his mark on me. When I see my shifted reflection, I'm reminded of his presence. Gallowayne still inspires my fear, just not my worship. Yeah, okay. Well, in fairness to Gallowayne, you did learn to spirit shift after the attack. Are you not thankful for that? Thankful? Thankful for being marked as a pariah? I respect what you're trying to say. Yes, Gallowayne gave me my form, and it certainly wasn't learning it on my own. I guess I'm thankful that he gave me a true hunter's form just as I prayed, but maybe I'm a fool for wanting the wrong thing. Okay, something else. Something else? Oh, right, let's talk to him again. He's got more to say. Tell me about Erdlandfath. It's a verdant land of history, culture, and natural beauty. We already have enough unwanted trespassers, so I recommend you never visit. Do you miss it? Used to. It's home. I'll go back eventually, but... He turns his attention to his shoulder and picks a small seed from the fibers of his tunic. See this? I know it's just a seed, but I've never seen this type before, and I'm itching to find out what grows from it. Every day I see something new out here. I'll return home eventually, but for now my curiosity exceeds my nostalgia sevenfold. Why should I avoid Erdlandfath? There are no cities to visit, no centres of commerce to explore. It would seem most visitors come to our land to pillage Agrathan ruins. The ancient Agrathans gave the forest to our ancestors, and in return we watch these ruins and see to it that remain untouched. And before you ask, no, we don't have secret passphrase or hand gesture. No one enters the ruins, not even the guardians or the watchers. Will you tell me of your tribe? I'm from the Fisher Crane tribe. Most of our people live far southeast and around the Thane Bog. The tribe is not one of great renown, but they protect the lands in accordance with the sacred oath of old. And as much as it pains me to say, I wouldn't want any other tribe's name attached to my own. You grew up on a bog? Only briefly. Here, let me show you something. Don't commit any of it to memory, please. Hiravias rolls up his sleeves and shows you his forearms. The soft brown fur of his arms is lined with faint stains of henna and scar tissue. This is where I grew up, on the migration trail, and it marked my arms during my training. While much of the tribe guards the Thane Bog year-round, many of us, including the Circle of Hawk and Ivy, honour the oath by patrolling lesser-known ruins scattered throughout the lands. We eschew houses only to take what we can carry and move camp every 2 moons to ensure that all of our sacred sites are visited at regular intervals. This nomadic patrol is how Druid Circle came to name itself. We circle and protect like hawks, but we only perch on the ivy of the ruins, that is, nearby trees, never enter the builders' lairs. Why aren't the Fisher Cranes well regarded? Because the other tribes are insufferable sibling spawn. I suppose the Fisher Cranes have a reputation for being passive, reluctant to fight, which is another way of saying the other tribes fight hard while we fight smart. Our namesake, the Fisher Crane, is a martian raptor that remains stark still from sunrise to noon. We're invisible stewards of the land, patient hunters of those who trespass. The three-tusked Stalgar tribe sees our methods as soft and unbecoming. I hear they use the same word for cousin as they do for whore in their dialect. Just an observation. Could you join a different tribe? There are tribes that would take me. The twice-split arrows adopt outcasts like myself, but their ways are not my own. Some of them even live under roofs. How obtuse. I long for home, just not any home. The whale has made my wanderings fruitful, and I accept I may not be until my soul passes that I rejoin the Fisher Cranes. I had other questions about Erdlandfath. Oh, he just repeated what I said back. I had some other questions about Erdlandfath. Okay. Aren't most other Orlands in Erdlandfath wild?
Yes, I suppose all of us were a bit wild as my tribe was migratory and we didn't live in permanent houses. But I understand what you're trying to ask. Yes, a slight plurality of Glonfath and Orlands have forest plumage. Growing up with meadow plumage, I was assumed to be weaker than others my age. The huntmaster of my tribe only chose apprentices from the forested kin, or rather, wild Orlands, as they're called amongst slave-owning bigots, as well as bigots too broke to own slaves. I grew up in Glonfath, specifically in and around Thane Bog. My people, the Fisher Crane tribe, are migrant stewards of the land. I've walked the whole of Glonfath many times. What would you like to know?
Okay, we need to restart that dialogue, but cool.
Yeah? Need something?
Landfath. What do Landfathans think of the Dyrwood and its people? Foreign looters obsessed with wealth and wine. May their bowels be obstructed by puss-weeping noodles, every one of them. Not that you're asking a neutral party. When I was an insufferable child, and I usually was, my parents told me Dyrwoodans would enslave me in this life and the next if I didn't behave. But now I'm in their lands, and I will, in the interest of academic fairness, admit that I met several decent, mostly non-rabid Dyrwoodans. But my suspicion about them all being drunkards has been proved entirely accurate. I wonder what great wonders they'd accomplish if they all sobered up.
I grew up in Glonfath, specifically in and around Thane Bog. My people, the Fisher Crane tribe, are migrant stewards of the land. I've walked the whole of Glonfath many times. What would you like to know?
Yep, well, we've exhausted his dialogue, and it is time to end the episode. Thank you for watching, and next time we should catch up with where I ended the previous sessions that were lost. So, I'll be blind after that point. Thank you for watching.